Hey, good morning, everybody. John here at Havoc Maker Studio, and today we're going to talk about Warhammer 40,000. And some of you will be like, John, didn't you just tell us the past couple days that you weren't going to talk about anything Games Workshop because you're really poopy pants about how they're doing things? You're right. I'm going to have to walk that back because this isn't just about Warhammer 40,000 or Games Workshop in general. This is also about Magic the Gathering. And we had a discussion a few years ago about this topic, not here on this channel, but we did have it over on FMP Wargamers. That was my first foray, my first steps into YouTubing. And even though I'm still the only collaborator, the only one that's working on it, maybe I should start doing those videos again. But you know what? This is my channel. This is my main focus. Anyways, so about 4 years ago, so it'll be about 2018, we were going through doing our normal live stream on, I think it was Wednesdays, it could have been Mondays. One day a week we would live stream where all of the FMP Wargamer team, myself, Jonathan, TJ, Ben, and then eventually we had also we had Alan and our good friend Ski. We rotate in, but for the most part, Jonathan, myself, and TJ were the ones all the way through. And then at some point in time, everybody just stopped doing it, and it was just Ski and myself. And then because I opened my mouth and I said I said something, and Ski was not happy about it. It just ended up being Ski, or ended up being myself, which I apologized for. But that's neither here nor there. Now, around 2018, I had received word from a very reliable source, and we had discussed it, that Games Workshop was in negotiations with Wizards of the Coast to bring Warhammer 40,000 to the Magic the Gathering universe. And because there was other IPs that were up for that, but is largely dismissed as it's likely not gonna happen. But as it turns out, our prediction that it was going to happen, based on a little bit of information from a very good inside source within Games Workshop, and working out how that would work out. Well, here we are 4 years later, and it's real. Actually, we knew about this last year, so 3 years later, it became a reality, or at least it was verified that it was going to happen. So to the detractors, na 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 na, I was right. All right, enough enough childishness. So, what does this mean for either game? Not a lot. It's just an opportunity to really do some cross branding and give an opportunity to poach players or kind of expand their own player base from either group. So the Games Workshop crowd can pull people from the Magic the Gathering crowd. Magic Gathering can pull it from Games Workshop crowd. Now you might be saying, well, they should be doing this already, because didn't Games Workshop have a number of games out there, a number of card games over the years? Yeah, they did, and each of them failed horribly. Largely in part because Games Workshop went to the worst possible people. Take that back, not the worst possible people, the unknowns, or people that were the bad ones, like Fantasy Flight Games, who are notoriously bad for screwing up card games and screwing over fans. Other games, or other companies like Sabretooth Games, they had a really awesome, amazing Horus Heresy card game. The gameplay was okay, but the art was gorgeous, so beautiful that they actually took that artwork plus artwork from John Blanche and put it into the Visions of Heresy, or Visions of the Horus Heresy, a big coffee table book of art. That art also helped spawn all the units, everything that we got to see from or in the Horus Heresy tabletop miniature game that came well after that card game. And because there was the only bits of information we had about the Horus Heresy really was a one paragraph in the original Rogue Trader book, and then little bits here and there, but nothing about the units. That card game, even though it failed, was what helped launch the Horus Heresy miniature game. So, when you guys are playing Horus Heresy miniature game, if at least give say a thank you to Sabretooth. I think it's Sabretooth Games. I think I'm pronouncing that right. They've had a number of other games like the combat cards that I think it was Fantasy Flight Games did and failed miserably. There was an AOS one, Age of Sigmar one, the fantasy version that came out a few years ago. So I think that was like 2019. I was working at Atomic Mass Game, or not Atomic Mass Games. I was working at Atomic Hobby Shop. So yeah, around 2019, they came out with the Age of Sigmar one. It failed within about I think it only took a year, for maybe a year and a half. I think about a year for them to just fail miserably. In fact, we had stopped carrying that product at the store because it was just not selling. Which just kind of goes to show you that if you're going to do something like this, go with a name brand, and like Wizard of the Coast, Magic the Gathering. Now, this collab between these two icons of the tabletop gaming industry is potentially really good. And thankfully, they're doing it right by making it just basically a one shot. We're going to get into this. So, what we're going to get is 4 commander decks and then 3 secret lair drops. And what secret lair drops are if I remember correctly, because I remember when I was working at the hobby store, it was the first time that the secret lairs dropped. They were limited decks of cards, or limited sets of cards, with alternate art or foil cover, whatnot. Some of them were, I believe, all of them were reprints of very awesome cards. Don't quote me 100% on that. If you remember all the details, if I got that wrong, put it in the comments below. So what they're going to do is take the core mechanics of Magic the Gathering and then basically just do a skin of Warhammer 40,000 over. Some people are like, well, how is that going to interact with other Magic the Gathering because it's all fantasy based? Well, kind of. If you remember recently, the Kamigawa set, the new Kamigawa set that came out this year or last year, recently, was all kind of like a neon Tokyo cybernetic style cyberpunk. So not necessarily, it's not just fantasy. They do crossovers. And sometimes they have other cards that we've seen, like I think there was a G.I. Joe set. Don't quote me on that. I know that there was some Transformers cards. I think it was a rare set. I don't know if it's playable. There are some Godzilla cards. So they do these kind of crossovers, which I think is brilliant for Magic the Gathering. And this does, you will see some, I don't think in as large quantities as some people might think. I think there's going to be a very small percentage of some crossover. People will be like, oh, look, let's go ahead and try this. This looks cool. I like this card. I want to see what this guy is like in the miniature game, or vice versa. There will be some crossover, just not a major percentage. I'm going to say 5% or less crossover based on the number of players on each side. And that's being very generous, I think, 5%. So we're going to be getting 4 commander decks. If you're not familiar, commander decks are 100 card decks, really 99 card decks. And then you have your commander card that's separate. And you can bring your commander out. That's under certain conditions, using power, mana to bring them, and it gets a little bit more costly as you bring them out, but they have special abilities and you can constantly keep bringing them out, essentially. And then you have 99 cards in your deck, which is most standard play for Magic the Gathering is a 60 card deck. That's the standard deck size to play. And there's multiple formats to play. The most popular ones, at least from what I remember, and it's also depending on your store, is Commander, like this, which is a 4-player game, up to 4-player, I believe. And then you've got Standard and Modern, which are one-on-one. Those are the other major modes that people will play. Other ones include Legacy. I think there's like Two-Headed Giant. There's a few others, but those three are the main one. There's also Legacy, which Legacy, I believe, and don't, or no, go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong, lets you use anything from the entire legacy of Magic Gathering, which allows you to bring, if I remember correctly, all the way from like the Black Lotuses and the Mox Diamonds and all those sort of things from the first set that came out back in the early 90s to these cards. So we're getting two different sets of 4 different factions or 4 different commander decks. So we have the Tyranid Swarm, which looks like it is green, blue, and red. We have the Forces of the Imperium, white, blue, and black. And then Necron Dynasties, which is just straight black. And then the Ruinous Powers, blue, black, and red. And we are, like I said, we are seeing that there is a collector's edition for each of these, which I'm not really surprised that they're going to do that. I don't know if that's necessarily a Wizards of the Coast thing that they do with the, I don't feel like that's something that they do normally with Commander's decks. Once again, put that in the comments below if they do. I feel like that is a Games Workshop thing, because whenever they release a new updated army book or a codex, they always have a extremely overpriced collector's edition book, which is just a full art wraparound cover. That's it. But they charge double for it. So I would not be surprised if this collector's edition box is double or close to double the actual cost of the box, which is going to be stupid. Ridiculous. But you know what? If you want the collector's edition, whatever that means, cool. Go ahead and, if this is what you love, then get involved. So what format can you play these cards in? Well, it looks like these cards are only legal in Commander, Legacy, and Vintage. Those are the only 3 sets. So standard and modern play. So your normal Friday Night Magic, where you basically it's a tournament of sorts. Standard and modern play that you get, and F&M, then you're not going to be able to use these cards for that. This is strictly for Commander, Legacy, and Vintage. That right there settles any concerns people have of, especially breaking immersion or anything, and having Space Marines pop up against your Skeleton Warriors or your Demon Familiar spawn thingies. Whatever cards you're using, you don't have to worry about breaking the immersion or any of the game-breaking potential that the cards in these sets. And we're going to take a look at some of those cards here in a moment, what they might, how they could break current standard modern formats. And those formats kind of weed out certain cards. They have basically ban lists, so it does not interfere with, well, what they would call standard play. All right, enough of that. Now that we have 3 secret lair drops, and we'll get more information on that later. So we've got Warhammer 40,000 Orcs, Age of Sigmar, and Blood Bowl. So these probably are just going to be alternate art cards of stuff that already exists. So it'll be cool to see what that looks like. I mean, I'm not going to rush out and buy one of these, but it's a cool concept. Now, they are going to be dropping, there's a preview that begins July 26th, so we'll start seeing what the cards are. So around July 26th, I'll probably do a follow-up video with this. The Secret Lairs will drop August 12th through the 22nd, worldwide release on August 12th, and launch weekend event is the 12th through the 14th. Now, if this is something you are interested in, launch weekend events usually have, hey, you come to the event, you probably already pre-ordered, and most stores might have like, hey, if you've pre-ordered this, you can get entered into the event. You're going to get a special event release card, or cards. There might be multiple cards. We've seen it before. And those are going to either be alternate art cards or cards that the only way to get it is to go to that launch event. So if this is something that you're considering just for funsies, find out when your local store, wherever you're going to buy this, find out if they're going to have a launch event, if there is going to be a release card, and just go. Just go get the card, play a game, and then get out. That way you can at least get those extra cards, especially if you're just doing this so you can collect it, because we are collectors, especially us Warhammer players and our Game Workshop players and such. We are collectors, so if you want to collect them all, attend the event. Boom. And there might be a special pre-order. Hey, if you pre-order, we're going to give you this card. All right, so let's take a look at some of the cards that are going to drop. So first up, we've got Abaddon the Despoiler. Let's take, he's a legendary creature, Astartes warrior. I like the art. I like the symbols. He's got Trample, Mark of Chaos Ascendant. He is a 5/5. That's weird, but okay, whatever. I'm guessing he is not the commander. I don't think, no, he's not the commander. We don't know who the commanders are. That's interesting that Abaddon the Despoiler is not the commander, unless I'm misreading something here. Anyways, during your turn, spells you cast from your hand with mana value X or less have Cascade, where X is the total number of life your opponent must have lost this turn. I am out of the loop, so I'm actually not going to read these things off because I have no idea what I'm talking about right now. I'm going to leave that up to the experts, my friends Jonathan and Ben over at the Atomic Cafe and the Atomic Hobby Shop, or my good friends Kaz and Cassie over at Board and Brew Games. Those are my subject matter experts when it comes to this stuff. Then we have Blood for the Blood God, which is a high casting cost. Holy crap. You know what? We might go ahead and read these off. Why not? We got time. It's an instant spell. That means it can happen at any time. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature that died this turn. Oh, okay. So that's why it's got a high casting spell or account cost. So you discard your hand, then draw 8 cards, 8 being the lucky number for chaos. Blood for the Blood God deals 8 damage to each opponent. Exile Blood for the Blood. Oh, that's actually kind of cool. Especially if you got a crappy hand, or maybe you have like 2 cards in your hand and you need cards. Especially in Commander, you need to cycle through your cards really quick. That's potentially really good, because let me tell you, if you've not played Commander, creatures die really fast. They get spawned really fast. They die really fast. That's actually a cool card. I don't know how effective it is, but the concept of it is really cool. Okay, then we've got looks like the Forces of the Imperium, we have Fabricate. It's a blue card, so 2 colorless and 1 blue. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Oh, that's not, I mean, I think that's kind of like a standard. There's enough of those type of cards, especially when it comes to blue. Then we got Vanguard Suppressors. Some of this looks like new art. I'm not going to lie. Some of it looks like it's new art. I could be wrong. I probably am, but it does look like new art. So it's 3 colors, 1 blue, Squad 2. Okay, that's a new ability. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may pay 2 colorless any number of times. When this creature enters the battlefield, create that many tokens that are copies of it. Okay, so when you pay your mana to bring this, to cast this creature, or to summon this creature, every 2 additional mana you pay, you get another Vanguard Suppressor squad. Then they have Flying, which is pretty standard when it comes to blue. Suppressing Fire. Whenever Vanguard Suppressors deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card. That's potentially bad, but it's also potentially good, especially in Commander, when you want to be, like I said, getting through the cards in your deck as fast as possible. That's potentially really that's kind of cool. I like that squad concept. I don't know if I feel like that's a new concept from Magic the Gathering, maybe just for this set. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this collaboration. It is basically a one shot. It's not like this is going to be going on forever. If it was, they would have released this with a booster box of cards. They would have had a bigger release. I think something like this is a lot more viable. That lets them bring in, like, oh, I don't know, a Walking Dead set, GI Joe, Transformers, Aliens versus Predators, whatever type of IP that they can get their hands on. This actually allows them to go, hey, we're going to do some cross collaboration. The fans are going to eat it up, and we'll get some more. Maybe even get some more fans in from the other IP over, and vice versa. So, not too bad of an idea. I'm still not going to rush out just yet. I'll be honest. I mean, it's not, as of right now. No, not going to get involved. But once April, was it July 26th rolls around? Yeah, once July 26th rolls around and we start seeing the different cards, and we start seeing what's going on in regards to this IP, this release. Will I want to be involved or not? It could change. I reserve the right to change my mind, but right now, no. But it's still a cool thing that I can talk about. Anyways, let me know what you guys think of this collab. I know there's a lot of people that kind of do both, or they play multiple games, including Magic the Gathering. I mean, I would say most tabletop gamers have played Magic the Gathering at some point in time. If you've played miniature games, and role playing games, you've likely have played Magic the Gathering at some point in time, or maybe even one of these Warhammer related card games. So let me know what you think, and tell me what have you played any of the Warhammer card games? What was your impressions of them? Anyways, I'm going to be doing a Heimdall video, going to release probably around noontime later on today. This will be a breakdown of what we might be seeing for Heimdall once he's released for Atomic Mass Games, Marvel Crisis Protocol. And that will be it. You guys have yourself a wonderful weekend, and I'll chat with you later. See ya.